Hey, everybody, welcome to Dad's Den of Pop Culture. And this is a new, I was going to say segment, I guess that's not the right word, a new series I wanted to start reading through the John Byrne run on Alpha Flight, which is a run that I just recently completed. I think it's one of the best, most interesting books that Marvel produced back in the 80s. And some people, have their issues with it. And apparently, Byrne didn't even want to write it. Um, but I think its status of being new characters not well known gave him an immense amount of freedom to tell some very interesting and often tragic stories with the book that I don't know that you got quite to the same degree elsewhere in Marvel, since there was always going to be issues with doing significant damage to existing characters that had existing fan bases or some market value. Now, Alpha Flight, my kind of history with it actually started with this book, bought off the stands at a local 7-Eleven. I had no idea who the characters were. I was brand new to comic books, but there it was. I thought it looked cool. I gave it a shot, and I became an instant fan. Collected it from then on, and then gradually started buying the older issues of the book, which, when you're a junior high, high school kid, you don't have a lot of money. It's not that easy to do. So every Monday will be Alpha Flight Monday in Dad's Den, and we'll be going through this book issue by issue. So we start with a story entitled Tundra. Stanley presents Canada's greatest heroes, Alpha Flight. And it says, "You are witnessing the death of a dream." Now, the book is created by John Byrne, lettered by Joe Rosen, colored by Andy Yankus, edited by Denny O'Neil, approved by Jim Shooter, and this is August of 1983. Let's pull this over here. So, what we're dealing with here is James MacDonald Hudson, known as Vindicator, has seen his dream of Alpha Flight end. He works for Department H in a secret bureau of the Ministry of Defense in Canada, and they put together a team, which really with sort of three levels: Alpha Flight, Beta Flight, and Gamma Flight. Now, Gamma Flight are their top line superheroes, ready to go, ready to fight. Beta Flight is folks who are still in training and still dealing with their powers. In Gamma Flight, were raw recruits. And so the funding for this has been pulled after three members of Alpha Flight and a couple X-Men, who you could see here: Vindicator, Snowbird, and I believe Shaman, Nightcrawler, Wolverine, engaged in battle with the Wendigo. And shortly after, triumphing over this horrible beast, the funding is pulled from Department H. Says the Prime Minister, "I'm afraid Department H and Alpha Flight are being disbanded. I'm sorry, James. I will give you what I can. You can keep your security clearances and your status as RCMP auxiliaries. I wish I could do more." "I know, Prime Minister. Don't worry. We'll manage somehow. We've worked and fought too hard to chuck everything now." So this is a transition period for this team as they deal with no longer being a government organization and having that kind of funding, and to some degree that kind of authority. "I can probably survive. At least I've still got Heather. But what about the others? The rest of Alpha, I'm reasonably sure of. They've mostly got lives of their own. But Beta Flight is a mixture still in training. Some have learned to live with their powers, to deal with them. Some are learning. And Gamma, what's going to happen to Gamma Flight? They're raw recruits. I barely even know them. Are they ready to be cut loose again so soon?" Before that thought can be pursued, "Vindicator? They're closing the power down in 3 minutes. You ready?" "Hmm? Oh, sorry, Cody. I must have lost track of the time. I was thinking." Yeah, I'll just bet you were. And we got some ads, Star Frontier, presenting the Marvel Superstars creation conventions. So this is what James MacDonald Hudson is going through. And he takes off for home. And we now pick up the action as he's leaving nearly 2,000 miles to the north and west. Summer is coming to the vast lands of the Northwest Territories, bringing renewed life to the rolling land. Though northern grasses poke green fingers through the fine dusting of snow that still clings to the tundra, and in their midst of this awakening land, shivering cold and hungry, is a man whose thoughts turn ever away from the burgeoning life around him, a man obsessed with only death. I'll show them, I'll show all of them. The fools, they laughed at me. They said I was mad, but they were wrong, wrong, wrong. He struggles stiffly to his feet, emaciated, near starving. As he limps away from his Spartan camp, one foot trails a furrow in the snowy topsoil. A shallow thing, not enough to last a single windy day, but as the furrow lengthens, to even the most casual observer, this random stagger would begin to take on a pattern, a shape, a rough outline grows. And so this man carves this image into the ground. That part of his task completed, he scrambles back to camp. Where is it? I know I packed it. I must have packed it. It's got to be here. The ancient metal tingles against his fingertips, almost alive, alive and waiting. It begins. So, that dude appears to be up to something no good. Meanwhile, to the south and west, on the Sarcee Reserve, just outside Calgary, Alberta, in the quiet office of Dr. Michael Tu Youngman, MD, that peace is about to be disrupted. Grandfather? The call is most subtle, the barest pressure within his mind. It took 10 years for him to learn to recognize that mystic signal. Now he knows it comes only at times of great peril, peril beyond the white man's science Michael Tu Youngman worked so long and hard to master. Peril which can be dealt with only by the Sarcee medicine chief known as Shaman. Speak, O my grandfather, the son of your son awaits. Meanwhile, so what we're doing here, and you get this obviously in any kind of new comic, we're being introduced to the characters. Apparel is obviously growing. We're checking in on what they're doing with their lives before they all answer the call to go deal with whatever the threat is. It's a pretty good opening. Mamselle Bobier, nestled most, golly, I can't hardly read that. Most of our old world, midst, okay. Nestled midst the old world charm of Laval, Quebec, at Madame Dupont's school for girls. So this is one of the more interesting characters in Alpha Flight. Well, really two of them, but one in particular. Oh, mademoiselle, is it true? Is it true? Angelique says your brother is coming to visit you today. Oh, say it's true, mademoiselle. Say it's true. Is he? Is he coming? Coming here? Is it true? Blah, 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 blah. Nom de nom, mon petit. Mon petits. Petites? Mon petites? Ha! Don't speak French, obviously. How do you know this thing? I learned of it myself only an hour ago. Then it's true. He's really coming. As if on cue, not only is he coming, it would seem he has arrived. And so Monsieur Bobier is obviously, he's this really handsome guy, and all the little girls think he's gorgeous, and they all want to talk to him. He's a ski champion. He says, for you, beloved sister, I can spare a lifetime. You look well. You have been taking care of yourself since our return from New York. See Machine Man number 18. I would prefer you did not discuss such things out in the open. Come, brother. I have tea and biscuits in my room. Will you be staying long? Okay. I have no pressing business until Friday, little ones. I shall be staying nearby until then. But for now, well, I did come to see my sister, n'est-ce pas? My room is this way. So he meets this nun who's in charge of this school. Um, he's famous. Even she's kind of impressed in meeting him. Goes up to his sister's room, which is kind of a simple Spartan affair. And you see that his sister is dressed very simply, kind of severely. So, Jean-Marie, it has been 2 weeks since Alpha Flight was disbanded. At that time, I have written you, phoned you, almost begged you to leave this place, to come and live with me, to come home. You do not understand, Jean-Paul. This is my home now, here with the nuns who raised me. This is not your home. This is a prison, a cage for the beautiful free spirit you truly are. Look how you hide your beauty, as you hide your God-given mutant powers. Do not speak blasphemy, my brother. Is it better to use my powers as you do to advance my worldly self? That again. Yes, I have used my powers, used them to make myself a champion. And why not? Should a strong man not use his strength, a genius hide away his mind? It is wrong. It is cheating, and you know so. Cheating? Who's cheating here, sister? To cheat is to hide the truth. Who does that if not you, with your ridiculous prissy clothes and glasses you barely need for reading? Jean-Paul, sister, listen to me. There is no love in my heart for James Hudson, but he reunited us, and he set Aurora free. Do not deny her. Deny her? I hate her. She is a devil, a foul imp who uses me. She is perverse. And so, Jean-Marie, who is known as Aurora, is essentially a split personality. And this is her brother, North Star. And, he wants to unlock that other personality, this more reserved personality, sort of maybe the result of her upbringing by nuns who, kind of maybe didn't treat her so well because of her mutant powers. So that's something he wants to free from her. So now we go back to Ottawa, the nation's capital, specifically 138 Laurier Drive, where in a pleasant little flat upstairs, Heather McNeil Hudson is taking advantage of a rare day off. Sorry to have neglected you for so long, guys. Busy, busy. And then her husband, Mac, shows up. Now, I will admit that I think Heather Hudson was my first comic book crush. I don't know if it was the glasses or what. She resembled Bailey Quarters a little bit from WKRP. But she was, in fact, my first comic book crush I ever had as a young, silly teenage boy. So he gets home, greeting him, and he turns on the news, live from Resolute Bay, and hears them say, the peculiar effects began some 40 minutes ago, and so far no instruments trained on the area have been able to identify the nature of the energies being discharged. A flyover by a high-altitude scanning plane has produced no useful data. All right, I can take a hint. Call Cody back and tell him I'm on my way. So there's something going on at Resolute Bay, and Mac's going to go check it out because, hey, he still is a hero. And his wife says, but surely this is more up Michael's alley, or Anne's. It's practically in her backyard. Shouldn't you at least contact the rest of Alpha Flight? Heather, there is no Alpha Flight. So she goes to the bookshelf, opens up a secret passage or a secret room where there's a super high-tech computer. Hey, I remember when that was super high-tech. And she's going to contact the rest of Alpha Flight, even though Mac isn't going to do so. And so a signal flashes across the vastness of Canada as Heather types coordinates into a top-secret transmitter. And in a less fashionable neighborhood of Toronto, this is where we meet kind of the heart and soul of Alpha Flight, really. Just the way Ben Grimm was the heart and soul of the Fantastic Four, we meet Puck. Although it's barely noon, Corky's Tavern is already busy. Come on, babe, you can do better than just drinks. Take off, eh? I don't have time for you clowns. And at the bar, Judd. I think those guys has given Mary troubles, eh? You want to take care of it? My pleasure. And so Judd is obviously a little person. And this guy probably is not too afraid of him. At first. And then Judd proceeds to beat the crap out of them. And then we see him sort of cartwheeling out the door as he gets the call. And so that's Puck. He's small, but he's a great fighter, and he's an acrobat. At just that moment, on a rocky spur jutting defiantly from the rugged coast of Newfoundland, Marina, who calls, "Oh, Dan Smallwood, it is you. It is always me, Marina. You left your brooch at home, and I think there's been a signal." A signal? But I had thought Alpha Flight was no more. And yet, yes, the call still pulses in the stone. I told you they'd not forget you, Marina. Or is it Marina? I always said Marina. I told you a call would come. Yes, and it must be answered. If anything should happen to you, I don't know what I'd do. Oh, romance. So, she is obviously not quite human, or is she a mutated human? Hard to say, but we'll find out more as we go. Across the nation now, to the great forests of northern British Columbia, where Professor Walter Langowski indulges in a favorite pastime. The Alpha Flight call signal, but I thought, reacting instinctively, the former gridiron star races forward, garments are shed on the run, as his mind turns inward, ever inward, probing for the hidden biological switch that will transform him from scientist into Sasquatch. No pain at all that time. Clearly my body chemistry is adjusting quite nicely. This great orange anthropoid is becoming as comfortable as my natural proportions. So we've almost assembled the team here. Almost. North again. The Eskimo of the great white land called the Arctic owl Ukpik. To ears more familiar with the English language, this has a curious, humorous sound, but the Arctic owl is a keen, savage hunter, not humorous at all. And this particular bird is even less deserving of our mirth, for as it wings ever closer to the strange pyrotechnics which dance across the sky, its features suddenly shift and blur as the avian form assumes a more human appearance. She is the last member of Alpha Flight for us to meet here. Her human name is Anne Mackenzie, though she presently wears the shape and the face of the demigoddess Snowbird. Though few men know it, neither image of humanity is any more her true form than was that of the owl. The magics are strong here. O Nelvana, my mother, grant me the power I will need in this awful place. The energies of destruction mass. Your ancient enemy rises again. It was the earth beast men call Tundra, who imprisoned you beyond human kin, O my mother. If your great power was not enough, what then is mine, diluted as it is by human blood? And so now we see the man who called up this magic is kind of a crispy critter, and a massive hand rises up out of the tundra. And that is some nice work by Byrne and his inker. And that's even nicer. The beast arises. I live. My limbs grow strong. The land bears its hidden power unto my body. I am Tundra. And I am the death of all that lives, the final doom of all my ancient enemies. Fear me, land of the north. Your last days now walk again. And there's Snowbird, so you can get the idea of the size. Help me, mother. I am afraid. And so Marina rushes there. They, I think, catch her on a vessel of some kind, a weather ship. So nobody can be moving that fast, but there she is, springs out of the ocean. And Marina's going to be a very interesting character as well. She's going to play a big part in the team. And here we have Aurora and North Star flying there, speeding there, and now the Aurora personality has come out of Jean-Marie. And so she's very whimsical, she's very fun, she's very, very sexy, very seductive. That's, the opposite of the Jean-Marie personality. Here we also have Puck. What the heck are you supposed to be? Out of the way, eh? I'm with Alpha Flight, and I'm on a number one priority call. Alpha Flight? Short stuff. I've seen pictures of all of them, and you weren't in the group. Maybe you didn't hear me. Whoosh. Hey, now listen up, soldier boy. I'm called Puck. Puck? Puck, what kind of name is that for a super guy? You want in, Tuffy? You go get written clearance. Otherwise, back off, eh? Blast. I could bust in easily, but that'd bring the whole base down around my ears. But I gotta find a plane. I gotta. Stupid little. And so we initially get Tundra facing Snowbird. And Tundra is obviously extremely powerful. He launches an attack of mosquitoes against her because he has powers over the creatures of the north. And she, to some degree, I think, does too. She can shape change into any northern creature, for one thing. And as she's going through that, here comes Vindicator. And he knows, oh, that's Snowbird. And so his costume is a little bit like say Iron Man's armor, although it obviously doesn't look like armor. But it gives him power over the electromagnetic, fields, and so that's how he flies, and he can create, this sort of, electric kind of a blast, a plasma funnel, which he uses to get rid of the mosquitoes, and then he gets attacked head on by Tundra. And now Shaman appears, and he starts going after it too. And so obviously you got Snowbird, who's a goddess. You got Shaman, who is, much like Doctor Strange, a magician. And this guy's right up their alley because he is obviously mystical. And so they're all combining their forces against him and, doing damage. And it says, the land echoes its agony for 100 miles around. The terrain heaves and tears. So he's intimately connected to the land. And so I think that's kind of cool. You're dealing with Canadian superheroes. And so the first villain they're fighting is, connected intimately to that land. It's not just, some supervillain with a Canadian motif. It gets right down to it. And I think brings in the mystical side of characters like Snowbird and Shaman, very nicely. So Snowbird says, Vindicator, no, Tundra is one with the land. Use your technological forces against him, and you may shatter all of Canada. What? But if he's that powerful, how are we going to stop him? How indeed. And so now we finally get the arrival of Sasquatch. After we get a little bit of a tirade from Tundra, you can't stop me, yada yada. And so Sasquatch lands on top of him and literally starts tearing pieces of him off. It says he quickly moves from an annoyance to an actual threat. We have a couple more ads here. Enough for Tundra to react. So Tundra, gives him a big slam. He goes flying off, and here come Aurora and North Star past him. North Star, that was Sasquatch. Forget about him, sister. If he survives, he survives. If not, North Star, you're going to discover, is a jerk. And to be completely honest, he's not a lovable jerk. He's just a jerk. For now, it is our turn to act. And so they start speeding faster and faster and faster around Tundra, trying to pull him, to pieces, basically. It's no good. It'll take forever to wear him away like that. Maybe if I. No, James, wait. They have the right idea. The forces of natural erosion are all that can work against the tundra now. Then act swiftly, shaman, before the beast can protect himself. A handful of mystic powders arcs from the medicine chief's hand. Above the monster, fluffy white clouds darken and grow angry. Then, no, it starts raining. Sapristi, the rain is washing the creature away. You're doing it, Michael. The monster isn't yet strong enough to resist. But it is insufficient, James. The beast even now replenishes himself, and there is not enough water in the air to conjure a second deluge. Wait, both of you, look. And just then, who would show up but Marina trailing a good hunk of the Atlantic Ocean behind her? And that provides the water that they need to wear Tundra down to nothing. As suddenly as he was created, Tundra is gone. An eerie peace settles slowly across the land. Where the monster stood, a small salt lake slowly seeps into the ground. And at the bottom of that lake, the dreams of a small mind sink into the salt-sown mire. 12 hours later, downstairs at 138A Laurier Drive, another one. George, how many of these strangers must we see going to the Hudsons before you do something? Francois, they pay their rent on time. They never have loud parties. They are nice, normal people for Anglais. Or for, would it be Anglais or Anglais? Anyway, leave it alone. And so Mac is gathering together the members of Alpha Flight in his apartment, obviously, in their human form. Pound, pound. Excuse me a sec. Yes, what can I... Huh? Down here, eh? Oh, man. Remember those? Kool-Aid Man. Judd, don't tell me you got Heather's call, too. Why not, eh? I was ready for the first team, wasn't I? True enough, friend. Come on in and meet the rest of the gang. We're just trying to decide on a new name for the group. New name? Hey, I busted my buns to be an Alpha Flight. I want to be an Alpha Flight. Relax, short, bald, and nasty. Alpha Flight sounds good to me, too, and we can always use a mascot. Mascot? Why, you overgrown. Judd, Walt, no, not here. And North Star's happy. Fight, Heather. Oh, Lord. Suddenly I don't know if this is such a great idea. And so we have the beginning of Alpha Flight. Ooh, Power Man. The fist'd tell you nice, but he ain't here, so listen and listen good. Either you come looking for me and the fist, or I'll come looking for you, and that could get real ugly. 60 cents for a comic book. This one's $1 because it's bigger size, double size. So we have the beginnings of Alpha Flight. It's Byrne. He knows what he's doing, and it's a good opening issue. You get to have the introduction of the different characters. You get to see them fight a foe who is intimately tied to Canada itself. And so you get to see them use their powers. You get a taste of the personalities, but you haven't really seen the personalities at this point interact much. Although Judd and Walt at the end get into a little bit of a scuffle, probably more friendly than angry. And so I think it sets the scene very nicely for this series. And with that, we will end this video. Next week, we'll be looking at Alpha Flight number 2 as the story deepens and as I try to get my setup here a little bit better. I had to dim the light because the camera was having trouble focusing. I think it looks okay. But anyways, we'll try to do a better job, if at all possible. So join me next week, next Monday, for Alpha Flight Monday, Alpha Flight number 2. In fact, let's get the little preview. Let's get the preview of Alpha Flight number 2. Still in the bag here. Puck, be careful. Something's happening to her. Take it easy, boss. Marina wouldn't hurt me. Oh, wouldn't she? Beginning the mystery of Marina. And that's going to be probably the first story arc that we really get out of Alpha Flight. So tune in a week for Alpha Flight number 2 in Dad's Den of Pop Culture. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you want to follow along the adventures of Alpha Flight, you might want to subscribe, maybe share with a friend who you know is a fan or you think should be. And in the meantime, God bless everybody. Please be kind to one another. And try to have some fun. And I'll see you next time around in Dad's Den of Pop Culture. Bye-bye.